Evolution, where construction meets innovation.
Evolution. Let's build the future together.
All right, so today we are going deep on something pretty cool.
You know, when you see some amazing piece of architecture or hear about some futuristic city plan and you think, wow, that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Well, get ready, because in this deep dive, we're looking at a connection that might seem, well, surprising at first.
Yeah, we're connecting the dots between the very real stuff happening in construction and real estate and, believe it or not, some of the big ideas from Star Trek.
And it's actually thanks to you, our listener, for pointing us towards some really interesting sources on this.
That's right. We looked at the Intro to the Ballvolution podcast that gives us the setup with Dave and Carol. But the main thing we're digging into is an article by Christian K. Carl called Star Trek und die Bau- und Immobilienwirtschaft Teil 1 Ballvolution.
Right, and it's quite recent, too, updated just this April, though originally published back in, September 2024?
Yeah, September 24, updated December 24, and then again April 25. So it's been evolving.
Exactly. And what's really cool for you listening in is how this, well, seemingly fantastical world might actually give us a new way to look at the digital transformation that's already happening in construction and real estate, like a potential blueprint.
We're not just, geeking out about starships here.
Although maybe a little bit.
Yeah, maybe a little. But really, we're looking at how these really forward-thinking concepts could genuinely shape our future cities, our homes, how we live.
Okay, so what are we covering? Christian Carl breaks it down into 5 main areas in his article.
First up, societal ideals.
Yeah.
The values in Star Trek and how they could be a foundation for our built environment. Ideas like justice cities and something called compassionate architecture.
Okay, interesting then.
Then we look at new ways of living and working. Think adaptable homes, maybe even like holodecks creeping into daily life, plus integrating nature and tech, flexible work, that sort of thing.
Right, the practical side of things, and the holodeck itself.
Yeah, number 3 is using the holodeck concept as a tool for digital planning, virtual designs, collaboration, even checking sustainability.
Oh, wow. Okay. And everyone loves the replicators, right?
Definitely. So 4th is replicators and what that means for getting materials. Molecular precision, sustainable options, just-in-time production, really rethinking material science for building.
Okay, replicators for construction. That's a mind bender. And the last one.
Finally, this vision of a starfleet of buildings. Think networked intelligence, central control, buildings that maybe even heal themselves, autonomous construction, seeing buildings as like smart, connected systems.
Got it. Now look, some of this might sound pretty out there.
For sure.
But the underlying principles, the core ideas, they actually give us some really valuable insights into where things are already heading in construction and real estate.
Exactly. So let's boldly go, shall we, into that first aspect.
Yeah.
Societal ideals as a foundation.
Okay. So what's the core idea here?
Well, it's really about how Star Trek's values like community well-being over individual profit, or judging people by their contribution, not their possessions, how those could be a blueprint for a more sustainable, fairer future for us, especially in how we design and build things.
Right. Carl talks about these justice cities. The idea is that the city's design itself ensures everyone gets fair access to resources, to opportunities.
Yeah, imagine public spaces that are really centers for learning, community support, sharing knowledge freely.
It's that idea that, a rising tide lifts all boats. Which, interestingly, the article notes even the Ferengi might get behind with their rule of acquisition 74, knowledge equals profit.
There's always a Ferengi angle. And this connects to compassionate architecture.
Which means?
Designing buildings that genuinely look after people's physical and emotional needs. So beyond just accessibility ramps, think about spaces that feel supportive, inclusive, build community, make you feel good, basically.
So buildings aren't just shelters, they actually help us thrive. And then there's this idea of shared resources, moving away from pure individual ownership.
Exactly. In Star Trek, you see sharing, flexible use of things, even living spaces, adapting to who's using them. It makes you wonder, could we get to a point where sharing and using resources well is valued more than just owning them? That's a pretty fundamental shift from where we are now.
It really is. And then citizen participation is key in Carl's view.
Right. Decisions made where every voice matters. Cities developed collaboratively with the residents actually involved in designing things.
Yeah.
Making sure it meets their needs.
That feels different from how things often work now. Feels very top-down sometimes.
Hmm. And he uses the United Federation of Planets, as a model for international cooperation. Collaboration, peace, seeking knowledge. Think of the Vulcans, all logic and cooperation.
So applying that to our world.
You can see it guiding how countries work together on big challenges like climate change or inequality, specifically within the construction sector. Shared goals across borders.
Okay. And technology fits in how?
Well, the idea is that the digital transformation we're seeing now could be steered by these values. Using tech to boost justice, sustainability, human well-being. Buildings become like expressions of our best ideals. Empathy, fairness, progress for everyone.
Wow. Okay, so those are the big ideals. How does that translate into, the actual places we live and work, these new environments?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting, thinking about how those lines between home and work might blur. The article imagines buildings not as static boxes, but as dynamic, adaptable places responding to us, inspired by Star Trek's versatility.
So like adaptive living spaces, what does that actually look like?
Imagine your living room in the morning becomes your office holographic screens for meetings, maybe. Then, in the evening, it shifts, changes lighting, sound, maybe even smells, to become a home cinema or a quiet space.
Okay, that requires some pretty smart tech, right? Smart materials?
Definitely. Intelligent materials, modular design, letting you reconfigure spaces whenever you need to. Truly multifunctional.
And the holodeck. In everyday life. Seriously.
Well, maybe not exactly like on the Enterprise, but think about rooms in homes or community centers with really advanced VR and AR, capable of simulating almost anything.
Taking staycations to a whole new level.
Right. The article mentions virtual trips to the beach, immersive history tours, even like interactive martial arts training, Matrix style.
The potential for fun, learning, training, it's huge.
And it's highly personalized, really immersive learning. Then there's this seamless integration of nature and technology.
Okay, like green buildings.
More than that, think extensive green corridors where nature and buildings blend. Vertical gardens, rooftop ecosystems, biophilic design, not just looking nice, but actively making us feel better, physically and mentally.
Bringing nature right into the city fabric, and tech helps manage that.
Yeah, the article mentions advanced sensors, AI, regulating the building's microclimate, optimizing air quality, maybe even creating personalized environments for individuals.
Wow, that level of customization. And what about work? The 9 to 5?
Could be history. More flexible work, fitting our own rhythms, AI assistance, handling routine stuff, freeing us up for creativity, personal growth, teams collaborating in shared virtual spaces, location mattering less.
More want to, less have to work.
Yeah.
Interesting. And community centers as hubs.
Yeah, places for co-creation, innovation, socializing, cutting-edge tech for workshops, hackathons, cultural events, bringing diverse people together to solve problems.
So physical spaces still matter, even with all the digital stuff.
Absolutely. And then back to Trek Tech, health and well-being.
Uh-oh, does Dr. McCoy beam in?
Not quite. But imagine spaces with health scanners, monitoring systems, tracking vital signs, flagging potential issues early, almost like having a less intrusive betazoid around, sensing needs.
So the building itself helps keep us healthy and guides wellness programs.
Exactly. Diet, exercise, mental health, integrated into daily life based on that data.
And finally, energy.
Energy autonomous structures. Buildings that generate their own power. Solar, wind, geothermal, fully integrated.
Aiming for energy independence, right? And sustainability.
Mm-hmm. Sharing or storing excess energy locally, making communities more resilient, greener. Okay, so that's the environment. Now, how do we build these things? That brings us back to the holodeck, but as a tool for planning and building.
Right, the holodeck wasn't just for fun. It could create incredibly real simulations, like Vic Fontaine or The Doctor, fully realized holograms. How does that apply to construction?
Well, imagine using that kind of immersive environment to design, test, and tweak building plans before anything physical happens. Advanced VR, AR letting architects and builders spot problems way earlier.
Okay, so virtual designs is the first point.
Exactly. Architects designing inside a virtual space, free from physical limits. Real-time design, instant visualization, walking through the virtual building, getting feedback.
That sounds incredibly freeing creatively. And cooperative planning.
Yeah, using a holodeck-like space as a shared platform. Architects, engineers, planners, even the public, all collaborating holographically, making decisions together, seeing the impact instantly, no matter where they physically are.
That could really smooth out the planning process, couldn't it? Better communication.
Definitely. And then realistic simulations. Companies could virtually simulate tricky construction phases, find problems, optimize workflows before breaking ground, minimizing risk.
Like a risk-free dress rehearsal for the whole project.
Right.
And for sustainability.
You could run sustainability checks in the holodeck, simulate long-term environmental impact, test different materials, see how designs hold up to climate change scenarios, extreme heat, heavy rain, you name it.
Making much smarter choices about the building's footprint and this erlebbar Zukunft, experienceable future.
Yeah, offering virtual walkthroughs of future projects to the public. Letting people experience it, give feedback before it's built, could lead to projects people actually like and feel part of.
That's a great way to get community buy-in. And finally, error-free execution.
Through virtual training. Construction crews practicing complex or dangerous tasks in a realistic simulation first, improving efficiency, drastically cutting errors and accidents.
Better training, better prep, leads to better, safer projects.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've gone from virtual design to real materials. Let's talk replicators.
Ah, yes, the magic boxes. In Star Trek, they rearrange matter, make anything from tea to building parts. The article asks, how could that change construction? Making materials with specific properties from basic elements, stuff that's hard or expensive to get now.
The key is molecular precision, right?
Exactly. Creating materials with exactly the properties you need, super hard, super flexible, whatever, by tweaking the molecules, could lead to totally new construction materials tailored for the job.
And scaling that up, industrial Star Trek replicators. Imagine big machines churning out complex parts, machinery, even whole modular building units, on demand, ready for assembly right there. Could slash construction times, reduce the need for massive stockpiles, and complicated shipping.
On-demand manufacturing just for construction.
Wow.
And the green angle, sustainable materials.
Replicators could theoretically recycle waste with amazing efficiency, break stuff down to basic components, then build new, high-quality materials, could drastically cut the industry's environmental impact, maybe even create a circular economy for building.
The less waste is always good. And just-in-time production.
Picture mobile replicators on site, making exactly what's needed right when it's needed. Simplifies logistics, shortens timelines even more. No more waiting for that critical delivery, just replicate it.
That level of efficiency, it's a total game changer. And cultural adaptation, what's that?
Using replicators to make materials and designs specific to a place's culture and climate. So maybe heat-resistant materials that reflect local style for a desert building, or super-insulated materials replicated on-site for a cold region.
Buildings that fit their context, functionally and culturally. Cool. And global networking.
Linking industrial replicators worldwide. Sharing designs, material recipes instantly. A sustainable material developed in, say, Germany could be replicated for a project in Brazil almost immediately.
Global knowledge sharing, accelerating innovation, making the best stuff available everywhere without shipping heavy materials all over the planet. Okay, that's huge. So, final aspect. The Starfleet of buildings. This sounds epic.
It really does. It's picturing our whole built environment acting like Starfleet's sophisticated ships and systems. Intelligent systems, processing data, coordinating autonomous construction, self-repair, all working together efficiently, like Starfleet operations.
Okay, break that down. Networked intelligence.
Each building is like a smart ship. Sensors collect data environment, structure, occupant needs. It operates some autonomously, adapts, shares data with other buildings in the network.
So cities become these huge interconnected smart ecosystems, and they report to central control, like Starfleet Command.
Pretty much. A central network analyzing all that data to optimize efficiency, safety, resource use across the city. Coordinating responses in emergencies, using real-time info from everywhere.
And this control center is also a knowledge bank.
Yeah, storing long-term data, insights for future architects, planners, a constantly growing library of urban wisdom driving sustainable development.
A living archive that learns. Neat. And each building has a virtual twin.
A super accurate digital model. You can run simulations, test changes virtually before doing them for real, like Starfleet using simulations to test maneuvers or equipment, predict issues, make informed decisions.
Proactive planning in the digital realm. And coordinating all this uses BIM and environmental modeling.
Right, the central system integrates building information modeling, BIM, and advanced environmental modeling, EM, that's the Intelligent Coordination Hub, managing planning, construction, maintenance, resource allocation, citywide. The flagship system, basically.
A city where building and infrastructure are seamlessly managed, okay? And self-healing buildings, like spaceships repairing themselves.
Kind of. Buildings monitoring their own structure, detecting wear or damage, initiating small repairs automatically. fixing a small crack before it becomes a big problem.
That could really extend building lifespans, cut repair costs, and autonomous construction processes.
AI-controlled robots using replicated materials, assembling buildings precisely, maybe 247, adapting on the fly, ensuring fast, accurate completion.
Robots building our future, literally. And this network isn't just one city, it's globally networked.
Yeah, cities worldwide sharing knowledge, innovations, tech. A green building method from one place gets used everywhere instantly. Data becomes the universal link, improving cities globally.
That kind of collaboration could really speed things up. Finally, interactive architecture.
Buildings that aren't static but adapt to users. People give feedback via BIM systems, mobile apps. The building uses that info to optimize spaces, change things based on needs.
Truly user-centric buildings.
Wow.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, linking Star Trek visions to construction's future. The big question is obvious, though.
How far off is all this?
Exactly. Are we talking next decade, next century?
Well, that's tough to pin down, and Christian Karl admits that in the article. Putting an exact number on how close we are to the Star Trek universe is hard. But he does offer this Star Trek score to give a general idea.
Okay, a score out of 10, how does it break down?
For societal ideals, he gives it a 4 out of 10. We're making progress on social, sustainable development, but, true global justice, effective citizen participation. Still early days.
Right. What about living and working environments?
That gets a 5. We see early smart buildings, flexible work is growing, but fully immersive holodecks or truly adaptive homes, still a way off.
The holodeck as a tool also gets a 5.
Yeah, VR and AR being used in planning, simulations exist, but that seamless, super realistic Star Trek integration isn't quite here yet.
And replicators, the material magic.
That score's lowest, a 3. 3D printing some materials is happening, yes, but manipulating molecules on demand, like in Star Trek, not currently possible.
Okay, and the highest score, the Starfleet of buildings.
It's a 6. BIM and digital twins are increasingly common. Early steps towards networked smart cities. There's definite progress. But full autonomy, global networking of all buildings, still a big future project.
So these scores are just one person's take, right? A framework.
Exactly. It's Karl's assessment to show where we've made strides and where the big potential still lies. Digital transformation is speeding up in construction and real estate, no doubt. Yeah. But it's a journey.
Absolutely. And it's just fascinating how societal ideas and tech push each other forward, isn't it? Even when the link to something like construction isn't obvious at first.
These sci-fi concepts really can spark inspiration, drive real innovation.
The article even mentions the warp drive idea, still debated scientifically, but it spurred research. And it turns out the concept appeared before Star Trek in a 1948 novel by Chester S. Geyer. Who knew?
That's wild, right? How imagination can actually push science forward. So wrapping up this deep dive, let's quickly hit those themes again.
Okay. We had societal ideals inspiring better cities.
Adaptable living and working spaces.
Holodeck-like tools changing planning and building.
Replicators revolutionizing materials.
And the Starfleet of buildings vision.
And we had some cool aha moments, like the Ferengi rule about knowledge or that warp drive history.
Definitely makes you think about where ideas come from. So the takeaway for you, our listener, interested in where things are heading.
Well, it seems pretty clear that even seemingly fictional ideas can be powerful catalysts for innovation, changing how we even conceive of the built environment.
Yeah. And while that Star Trek score reminds us we're not on the Enterprise bridge just yet,
it also shows real progress is being made. We're clearly moving towards more digital, sustainable, intelligently connected ways of building and living.
So maybe a final thought to leave you with. As tech keeps racing ahead, sometimes in unexpected ways, how might our core values, our societal goals, and the actual design of our cities and buildings evolve together?
Yeah, and could those collaborative, knowledge-sharing ideals from Star Trek's Federation offer a useful model, maybe even an essential one, for tackling the huge, complex challenges facing construction and real estate globally?
It really makes you wonder how much inspiration from seemingly far-off places can fuel real-world innovation. All right, well, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we'll catch you next time.
This was Revolution.
Where construction meets innovation. Until next time, keep building the future.